So you can see we're a bit later on in the day. Some of these matches are live now. We've got them on the watch list in ascending order, and you can see the scores updating and so on, so we can skip in between these very quickly if we so wish. But the thing that caught my eye is the Murray match that's taking place tomorrow. Very similar setup to the match that took place yesterday. And there's a very low-risk trade that you can do in these sort of matches. You tend to find in the earlier rounds, when you get these uncompetitive matches, there is a trade that you can do that generally has a pretty good payoff, or a chance of a good payoff, and that's what I'm going to explain in this video. If you want instant access to new videos as they're uploaded, then please click on the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to comment on the videos, and if you're interested in learning more about BetAngel, visit betangel.com today and download a free trial. So what we're going to do to look at this opportunity is to appraise the match that took place yesterday, because this will describe and show you what you can actually achieve. And when you look at the odds that were available before the off, these are the Betfair charts and some of the market depth information available from within this match. You can see that Murray started at 102, 103. So you can see, you know, there was not a very interesting market. Loads of money matched at 103. When the match got underway, we had an interesting scenario develop. Really, Murray should have gone on to win this match. There was a very, very high chance that he would win this match. But what it doesn't describe, what the starting odds of 102, 103 don't describe, how that match would be won. So it tells you from the odds at 102, 103 that he's almost certainly going to win this. But it doesn't describe how. And let's have a look at how he won this match. So match starts, and Murray is unable to break down his opponent. And this is quite common in a number of matches. If you've got an outsider going up against a world-class player like Murray, then their best chance of winning the match is to get off to a really good start. So they very much tend to throw the kitchen sink in right at the beginning, whereas the experienced player won't do that. They've got enough skill to fight that off and turn things around and come back into the match at some other point. They have the experience and the skill to be able to do that. But for the outsider, their best chance is to just blow the other player off the court and see if they can sort of get away with it. So this is what Mannarino did yesterday. He basically really went for Murray, and he got a break, and then Murray was really unable to bring himself back into the match. He kept almost coming back into it, but not quite. Mannarino managed to fend him off, and he won the first set. So we can see that his odds went from 102, 103 all the way out to about 120-ish. And that was an interesting scenario. It didn't mean that Murray was going to lose the match, it just meant that he was going to have to take a bit of a roundabout way to win it. So the odds at the start were probably very accurate, but simply because Mannarino had done well in the first set, necessarily the odds on Murray winning lengthened, because there's always a demonstrable risk that Murray could fail to close out this particular match. What actually happened then was Mannarino did even better, and he won the second set. So you can see here the sort of shocked reaction of the market to Murray going 2 sets to love down. But you can also see that Murray was still odds on. He actually traded, I think it was 187, we'll see on the next image. But from a price of 102, 103, he went all the way out to 187. So the upshot of this is you could have actually got in the market at, let's say 103. Let's be pessimistic and say we didn't get in at 102. Let's say we got in at 103. For £1,000, you'd take a £30 risk on there. If you laid £1,000 at 103, your risk would be £30, and your payoff would be £1,000. Now, of course, for that to happen, Murray has to lose the match. But we're not betting here, we're trading. So what we're going to be doing is trading the volatility, the price activity within the match. And of course, you don't have to trade all the way to the end in the fact that Murray loses. So really, realistically, your payoff is never going to be £1,000. You're risking £30 in the market by laying £1,000 at 103. But your payoff will never be £1,000. It will always be some value below that. Now, it could be that you traded out at the end of the first set. So you laid him at 103, you trade out at 120. Or, if you were highly optimistic, you could have traded out at the end of the second set. So you could have traded out at 187. So you could have laid him at 103, traded out at 187. So obviously, if you trade out at the end of the first set, that will occur many, many times more frequently than attempting to trade out at the end of the second set. But can you see you've got two distinct points at which you could trade out? And in fact, if you use Tennis Trader and tools within BetAngel, you could actually say, well, I'm going to trade out when he gets the break, because of course that would be up at 115, 117, and that will occur much, much more frequently. To put this into context, let me do some little maths for you. If we get in, let's say we get out at 120 on this particular match, and we got in at odds of 103. So if we do 20 divided by 3, that equals about sort of 6 stroke 7, somewhere in that range. So what we're saying is, 1 out of 7 times will this scenario occur. Will this red-hot favourite just fail to break down his opponent, and his opponent perhaps get a break, or perhaps take it to 5-all, or maybe even to the tie-break through some stubborn defence or brash arrogance. And if you say yes, he will do this, or you can identify situations where this is going to occur. So if you can find a situation where this is going to occur more frequently than 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 times, then the trade is on. You can lay at 103, wait for that first set, or 6-all, or 5-all, or a break, and then you can trade out. So you're saying, can I find a match where this occurs more than 1 in 7 times? And if you say yes, the trade is on. So it could be you wait for the first couple of games, you see how things are panning out, and then you take your position there, because the odds wouldn't have moved much. You can use Tennis Trader to find out. Now, of course, trading out when it's 2 sets to love down would be a fantastic trade, but you're unlikely to be able to pick that up. But there's no reason why you couldn't get in at 103, trade a chunk out at the end of the first set, and leave some hanging in the market, where you could trade out at much bigger prices. And that's very often where you'll get these massive profits and returns from. That's very often where it tends to come from. Now, what actually happened in this match was Murray goes into the third set and he thinks, oh, ridiculous, and all guns blazing, and then his price starts to crash back in. So in fact, very, very quickly after the third set started, and he had to win the third set, though he had no choice, he really had to go for it. He did, and the price came crashing in, and he romped away with sets 3, 4, and 5. But the price went from 187 to 136 really, really quickly at the start of the third set. So even if you missed your opportunity to lay at very, very short odds here, you could have probably nipped in and got a bit of value back up here. Or say you did get in here and then you traded out here and you went all the way out to 187 with a little bit of money left in, that's probably the point at which you would have changed your position around and done something more interesting. So yeah, getting in here is incredibly low risk. Getting out here, you would be able to nominate a key point at which to do that. You may not have got all of your trade through at this level, but you may have left some in the market and been able to trade there. But the metrics are quite simple. We said about, can you pick one of these matches about 1 in 7 times down here? And if you are able to trade out at 187 up here, if we do 87 divided by 3, then you'll learn, let's do that calculation quickly here, that's about a 1 in 30. So, can you find 1 in 30 matches where the red-hot favourite goes 2 sets to love down? If you look at women's tennis, of course, it's very likely you could find a match, because they're only played over 3 sets, where the red-hot favourite goes a set down, and that will have a significant shift in the market. The only reason this has gone to 187 and Andy Murray is still odds on is because there are 5 sets to be played. But can you see how the metrics play there? We're trading in here, we're trading out here or here, maybe with trading out partly here and then a bit more up there. But you can actually, you're not worried about the chance of him winning, but you're just thinking about the opportunity for him to slip up. And can you spot that 1 in 6, 1 in 7 times, or 1 in 30 times in terms of the big opportunity that takes place up here? So if we look at Murray's next match, then we can go through the same process again, but of course we now have Tennis Trader to tell us when to get in and out. That's an important and interesting aspect to why I'm showing you this. Because we know that Murray's going to start at 106, but we can actually look forward and say, well, what would be the price given this scenario? So you can see here, if Murray loses the first set, then he'll be priced at 123. So you can see there is an opportunity there. If Murray wins the set, then you can see his price goes down to 103. So in fact, you're not going to be taking 6% risk. You're only actually going to lose 30% of that. So say we laid Murray with £1,000 at 106, we would be risking £60. If he wins the first set, his price will shorten, and we could actually close that trade out if we wished. If he loses it, then obviously we've got a fair amount of money in profit, and therefore we could exit. You can see the chance of him winning the match is extremely high, 94%. But what we're saying here is that we're not trading that. We're not looking for value. We're basically saying how much is the price going to fluctuate? How will he win it? And that's where the trading opportunity comes in. You can see we've used the custom score option within Tennis Trader as well to say what happens if he's 2 sets to love down. And you can see here this is pretty much in line with the previous match. His price would go out to 198. And the previous match it was 187, and it started at slightly shorter odds. So you can see here that the trading points at which we could get out are at 123, 198, or somewhere around there. No reason why you couldn't put money in at that price and wait for it to get matched. And if you wanted to mess around even more, what you could actually do is actually start looking at what happens within a set itself. So let's say that he's love 3 down. You can see the price would go out to 119, so maybe you'd probably want to close out at that particular point. Or say he's 1-3 down, 115. But you can see that you can fiddle around with all the metrics, and you can actually work out, and you can say, can I get this opportunity 1 in X number of times? Because if I can, then the trade is on. And because you're laying at incredibly short odds, you're taking very little risk, and obviously you're not going to win all of them. Some of them the player will just get off to a great start and demolish him immediately, but then you can actually decide to trade out if you want to. Or you could just wait a few games and say, well, you know what, this feels about right for this type of match, and then you can get in and complete the trade from there. But anyway, I thought this was interesting because this scenario happened yesterday. He's got another short price coming up tomorrow. Not saying it will happen in this particular match, but nonetheless that's a fairly good way of looking at how to do a low-risk trade in a tennis match.
If you're interested in learning more about BetAngel, visit betangel.com and download a free trial today.